the peloton don't want to invest too much just for the time being. And even within this chase, they can't decide because it's an imbalance of work rate. Squinch not having his turns replicated by Betancourt or Gorka Izagirre, and all of a sudden things start to pick up. And indeed, the Italians just sitting in for now, getting a free ride, courtesy of the fact that all hell's broken loose. And indeed, Belgium now have to put the fire out.
Yeah, they do. They're getting a bit of help from Australia with Jack Haig as well. So 2 riders, but when you've got 5 riders committed here, and Trentin is really committed, he didn't want anybody else joining the party. And unfortunately for Gorka Izagirre, Betancourt and Tom Squinch, I don't think they're going to get across now. In fact, they're going to get caught by the main peloton led by Belgium and Australia. But there's still a few riders to strong enough riders are sitting back. They're using up their teammates as much as possible, but there's going to come a point where they have to take it on themselves. And I'm thinking of Sagan. I think Alaphilippe. I'm not too sure he's on a good day. Michael Matthews. So they're sitting waiting. 30 seconds, 30 odd seconds is not that bad. You can see that the Danes also get Michael Valgren there. But you can also see just behind them, the Belgians are talking. You've only got, what, about 30 riders left at the front group. So there's very depleted numbers. So the big players that want to win this title today will be forced to come into play soon.
They will. Sitting at the back there, surprising really, Alexander Christopher looks like, mind you, he always looks terrible, quite frankly. He's a man who looks like he's struggling sometimes when he comes down for dinner. He's got such a scary face. Lovely guy. But yeah. He was sitting at the back and reaching for gels and kind of just preserving himself at the moment. Trentin's gone all in. He's got Moscon with him. He's ridden clever so far. It may be genius. Let's wait and see. But as it stands, I'm afraid, the gap is now 46 seconds. They're pulling it out, and this chase group looks like it is done for. And poor old Squinchy has a look, says, come on, do a little bit of work for goodness sake. I'm not going to do this all on my own. And they are in danger of being caught. They're only 11 seconds. It was actually narrower than that, and there's actually pulled back out just a little bit. Alarm bells, when do they start ringing? I suggest possibly now, Brian. Certainly when we get back to the start-finish straight. If the gap's still 47 seconds, that's hard to close down on this technical circuit.
I think they were ringing some time ago. That's why we get the Belgians and Australians at the front. Not many riders left in this peloton behind. And it's going to be very difficult when you've got 5 committed riders at the front and another kind of group of 2, and then Betancourt just kind of slipping off them. It's going to be very difficult. Look at the commitment you were seeing from Trentin here.
Yeah, it's fantastic. He's looked the most driven of everybody. Former European champion, of course, and when he won there in Glasgow, that was pretty similar rising and falling terrain in the wet as well.
And he beat Mathieu van der Poel and Wout van Aert as well.
And they will all know that, won't they?
But Trentin knows that. But then Mathieu van der Poel and Trentin know each other from a recent Tour of Britain where they battled it out for first and second. But just looking behind, France coming to the fore again. But Gorka Izagirre, Tom Squinch and Betancourt about to be caught by the peloton behind. But 51 seconds. The gap is going up now, and it needs a really big concerted effort. And Alaphilippe has put his troops to the front again, but looking good for these 5 riders. Look at the size of this group.
Yeah, I think that's Degenkolb having a chat with Alaphilippe, and in fact wondering just how on earth this is going to be coped with, quite frankly. That's a very select group. That's been thinned down big time. Yes,
there's on about 30 maximum here, but with the major nations in front, with France now coming up to the front, I'm not seeing any of the riders from GB. I know Theo Gegenhardt was there and Ben Swift was there, so I don't know if they're in this group behind. But yeah, it's interesting times because 5 strong riders and that small group of 3, even they're kind of hanging on at the moment. Tom Squinch, Betancourt and Gorka Izagirre, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of firepower behind. And if Greg Van Avermaet wants to win here, then he might have to do it a little bit on his own.
Indeed, their margin is 12 seconds. Yeah, I think they're going to have to, and I think that's what the conversation was between, I think it was Degenkolb and Alaphilippe. Just when are we going to go? When are we going to do it for ourselves? Sometimes you have to just help yourself.
Yeah, I'm just looking around the group. Last year's under-23 champion Hershey with Albacini in the left-hand side, who crashed for Switzerland. Just looking a little bit further back, I think Ben Swift is the only rider, unless it's Tail Geoghegan just at the back there. I think it is in the black. Very difficult to pick out. So all in a group of about 30 riders, 2 Brits in there, but 54 seconds to the 5 riders in front of Moscon, Pedersen, Kung, Mathieu van der Poel and Trentin, and they don't look to be slowing up.
No, they don't. In fact, they're finding a little bit more time. When's a minute going to be enough? Well, on this course, 35 seconds is holdable. It's very difficult to kind of close that sort of distance down. And at the moment, they look like a depleted force. Let's put it that way. Even Alaphilippe looked like he had something missing. And I don't know what the conversation was between Germany and France. I guess we'll see if that's reflected a little bit later on. Those who've battled hard today include Magnus Cort Nielsen. That battle is at an end.
Yeah, he's ridden very well today. To be in the breakaway and to be still riding at the front, it's been a really good day.
Ackermann, no. Which means Degenkolb, potentially. Let's wait and see. He's just about had enough. Give me a gate, for goodness sake. And takes one. So that pesky little turn, one of many on this course, still being taken by the 5, who have 51 seconds of advantage. Wow. From this group, you've got such firepower. Mathieu van der Poel. The fact that Trentin looks so fresh, I think he's possibly favourite amongst this group. No disrespect to those who ride on here. Stefan Kung, who actioned a great move as van der Poel hits the front. Gianni Moscon just tucked in towards the rear here. It's a great group of riders. Will they? Can they? They can, but we're not sure if it's deliverable with 19.8 kilometres to go. But they do have a 48-second advantage. Still, this chase won't give up. Squinch, you know, they've been leading on him in the climbs, and really that's where they should be assisting him if they want him as part of an engine room. Moscon's starting to struggle here. He's done so much work, and Trentin it is that's leading on the chase as they get absorbed, or just about to. Carlos Betancourt goes to the 4. Gorka Izagirre tucks in. Tom Squinch, brave effort by him. And look at those looking around, wondering where their team principals are. And many of them, I'm afraid, have been spat out of the back. That was Cosnefroy just starting to struggle after doing so much work, and it looks like Moscon, I'm afraid, Moscon has gone. There he is, a heavy man who doesn't cope ultimately with too much climbing, and there's too much climbing.
Well, I was just about to say that the Italians are in the best place here because they've got 2 riders in front, but Moscon just can't quite hang on, and I don't think they'll. You know, when you're like this deep into the race in the last 20 kilometres, if you don't get the legs, you're not going to get the legs back. But Trentin just pushing on with Mathieu van der Poel, Kung, and Pedersen, and so we have 5 left in front, but a reaction back at the 4 left at the front. So we're back at the front of the peloton. We've got Fulsang there, Colbrelli, so there doesn't seem to be any chase at all. Jon Izagirre now up towards the front. Lampard comes again, but these are going to be testing times for all these riders. They're all suffering, but nobody's taking on the chase. And if that's the case, then the winner could be coming from the front 4.
Yep. Surely it has to be a great possibility, and it's extending 55 seconds now. Where's the chase going to come from? That's the big question. And some great riders. To chase. Yeah, exactly. And nobody left to assist. So if you do it yourself, then all you're doing is handing your opponents an advantage, and that's a difficult conundrum to master.
He's back. So there is 5.
Indeed. Never count out the Moscon. Moscon is not gone. He's back, but Moss back. Anyway, back to this group of chasers with 18.7 kilometres to go. And you look through it, is that Tadej Pogačar still part of this group?
Pogačar's there, yep.
Wow.
Chavez, well, problem.
That's not a great time to have that. It's good to see him back and functioning so high on what's been a very difficult day. Yeah,
just having gear troubles now, so unfortunate for Esteban Chavez. I don't think he'll be able to get that fixed anytime soon.
Well, he tries the old method. Give it a smack. Meanwhile, back down into this dip here. as some billowed fencing, I'm afraid, with those pesky cheaper versions, the sticky outy leg versions. Not my favourite, I must admit. There are hoardings that are available that don't have that. But nonetheless, I don't think we're going to have a sprint situation. It looks like it's going to be very selective by the time we get there. So we won't have a mobbed road, I wouldn't have thought. Although they'll be taking the tightest line they possibly can through the right-hander, which finishes off the circuit. You'll see it in a few moments' time, because with the gap coming down slightly, 5 seconds only in 2 kilometres, that's not descending quickly enough.
No, it isn't. And, you know, we're already seeing the damage that's been done at the back. These are riders that have been sent up to the front to chase, and, you know, they've done their job. Now it's up to Lampard to do his job for Belgium. Fulsang is sitting in second place. He will not do anything at all. Colbrelli in third, so he won't get involved. There is a former world champion just back in this group here, Rui Costa for Portugal. But there's a lot of riders sitting back. Sagan still in this group, Greg van Avermaet. So there's a few favourites just sitting back, but where this gap stays at 50 seconds, the power is at the front of the race, and Moscon making it back does make a bit of a difference.
Yep, it does. Let's see how much favour they offer him as they sail round the chasers here, start to take on this incline again, and I'm inclined to think that this is going to fracture fairly soon. And in fact, Italy, who've had the gift of not pushing on for a while, still with representation within this group. In fact, 3 riders, I believe. They had a very strong performance, Italy. It's a credit to Davide Cassani, well known to us, as this group come back together, reform, but it's not as a fighting force at the moment. 49 seconds. They'd have to be a completely different pace about those out front and those chasing for this to be a descending gap, and it's not that different, the pace at the moment.
Well, it's holding about you know, 50 seconds, which is doable in the last lap, especially after you know, a very, very tough day. So I can only think that the likes of Sagan, Van Avermaet, and maybe Mirko Valgren and a few other riders, if they start to go on the attack on this last lap, then they can eat into this advantage. We saw what happened in the under-23 race when it kind of came back together very late on. But you can only wait so long, and Michael Matthews is another rider that's, you know, can go. So there's some strong riders that are very capable of going across this gap. But the fact is, Moscon is kind of suffering a little bit, but he's still willing to do his turn.
He is. Tom Squinch back here, just on the back wheel of Ben Swift, who remains part of that group. But that group, I'm afraid, at the moment, are in arrears by a handsome margin. And Italy have got 2 here, and that's a great card to have to play. Van der Poel, let's see what he manages to put in, because it's a climb and a sprint. And that being the case, I think Trentin is favourite out of this group.
I'm not too sure. I think Van der Poel is, I think, equally as quick, but they'll know that. But the thing is, that's why it's important that Moscon's here, because it doesn't matter if you're feeling rough. Moscon goes on the attack. Van der Poel has to chase, and Trentin can gain advantage from that. But Pedersen is a very strong finisher as well. So is Kung. All of them can finish well. In these sort of conditions, after 260 kilometres, in these conditions, it's who's got enough strength left in the end.
Exactly, and to my mind, freshest of all of them is Trentin. But hey, we'll find out, won't we, in 15.1 kilometres time. We're going to take the bell, and then we're going to do one more lap of this pesky circuit. And at the moment, the pesky breakaway have got themselves 49 seconds. The pace is now being indeed dictated by Moscon. Van der Poel's just slowed down because he's about to try and get rid of his rain cape when he's got a moment to take his hands off the bars and indeed do something. Could be any of these guys, possibly not Moscon, to be honest, but anyway. There is your Flamme Rouge, and it's Moscon that sets the pace coming through this little sequence of turns. They'll just take the nose off the apex of this left-hander right now to give themselves the best shot at Parliament Street, and they do so. Indeed, out of the saddle and start to climb. Meanwhile, the chase and a forlorn one as well at the moment from Belgium. It's all slipped through their grasp.
It has, but you can only think the other nations as well. Spain, they lost Valverde very early in this race when we come on to the circuits, and you know, there's other nations like France came up. Alaphilippe has been absent. We haven't seen him towards the front. He was the person that went on the attack, and when Trentin and Mathieu van der Poel went. But this is a long drag up here. It's going to hurt the legs. And it's going to be the rider with the most strength that it really takes the victory in the end. It's still in the balance, and I believe this time up there is potential for some of the riders to try and come across. I'm thinking Matthews, I'm thinking Greg Van Avermaet, Sagan. They've not even tried anything yet, and they're running out of time.
They are running out of time, and it may well have to be that they're solo. I do wish they'd get those cameramen crouched down on the inside of that curve, because it's a line that you want to take very, very tightly, and riders are being forced into the middle of the road. It's not a good look when you're allowing cameramen to sit in a position that, yes, it's a nice art shot for them, but it's potentially dangerous for the riders. Final lap. The bell has tolled. Time then to go racing. 45 seconds is the gap, and indeed, let's wait and see. It's rolling properly at the bottom right-hand side of your screen, but some very, very strong riders up front. Two from Italy, which plays into their hands rather well, and in particular into the hands of Trentin, former European champion, who's got to believe that he can take this. Let's wait and see what the gap is here. Belgium have missed out on a significant move, and a rueful turn of the head there from Gorka Izagirre, wondering whether he shouldn't have been in the group up front. Well, he should have helped out a little bit more. Squinch and Betancourt, who stay within this group as well. Sometimes, Brian, you have to be brave, and sometimes you have to shake hands with the devil on occasion. Those that tried to bridge over failed to do so because they wouldn't work together. And in fact, you can't overthink it sometimes, because you just end up losing. I
think that, and plus they possibly never had the legs as well, because there's 5 strong riders in front. Okay, Moscon suffering a little bit, but there's a couple of nations here that have got teammates that are not committing. They're leaving it all up to Belgium, and you know, the thing is, Lampard can only wait so long. You see all of them looking up to the board above, which will give the gap. They're all noticing that the gap is still over 40 seconds, and you really have to commit in this last lap. If they want to win, anybody from that group behind want to win, then they have to commit, and the leaders have to commit.
There you go. That's not a great sign. Mathieu van der Poel is unable to continue. I don't think he's got a technical. The hand's not gone up. He's just run out of legs.
Yeah, simple as that. You know, he's did well to get where he is, and he looks super strong. But as they say in Scotland, when the mallet man comes, he comes with a vengeance, and he's just been hit. Looks like a hunger flat. But we're saying it all day. You have to look after yourself. Very important. You have to have that experience. And I know he's won some big races and got plenty of experience, but when it's nervy and you're just struggling, you're taking rain capes on. He had a puncture earlier on today. When a lot of things happen, and sometimes if you don't eat and drink enough, then this is what happens.
You saw him twitching his, even in slow motion here, he was shaking his head, and it was as if he was trying to shake himself awake again. He may well have had a huge knock here and was getting a little bit faint, as simple as that, after the climb.
Yeah, it looks as if he's just had a bit of a hunger knock. I think all cyclists have had that in the past, but Moscon really pushing on. He looked the weakest of all 5 riders, but he's really pushing on now, and it does look as if Italy are in the driving seat here with the Trentin. Yeah,
fantastic with Pedersen and Kung. Well, to be fair, out of all the riders who are starting to grimace here, and you look at this group, wait till you see the face of Trentin. He's wide-eyed and in wonder of his opportunity. I think it's an amazing one. 11.9 kilometers to bring this one home, and we haven't got a gap at the moment, but I can't see it having been closed significantly. Even despite the best efforts of Belgium, it looks like our podium is from amongst this group.
Yeah, well, just wait over this next climb to see if there's any reaction behind, but you can just see all the faces here are full of concentration. Pedersen at the front here with Trentin really kind of pushing into it, but I feel sorry for Mathieu van der Poel. He looked super good, looked good all day. He was attacking just a lap before, but when the knock hits you, this is what happens.
Can't see the peloton if the camera just dinked to the right, and it does so, and here they come, stand well clear of the yellow line, which he's nearly at, while the train comes through. Oh, cruel, it certainly is, but then again, so many ambitions of the brave are on display right now. Have they been broken? Peter Sagan comes to the front, and indeed there they are. They all sail by. Some big names have been found out today. Yves Lampaert looks like he's just done his job. He's still circulating, but I'm afraid Van der Poel here in the orange, as that Belgian aforementioned moves on within the pack. But it's over a minute now that these guys have got in terms of an advantage, and having an engine room that's sacrificing himself as well. It's been phenomenal. The pace of Moscon throughout the entire reach of this course has had a limiting effect on others, and it's meant that Trentin hasn't had to do too much of a turn, and indeed that hammer has fallen squarely upon this man, I'm afraid. And Mathieu van der Poel, pre-race out-and-out favourite, is now, I'm afraid, just going to spin it home. There's all kinds of way to be a hero in this race, and you don't actually have to win it to be recognised as that. Meanwhile, out front, 10.4 kilometres from home we are. Moscon, Trentin, Pedersen, Kung. I suggest our winner's going to come from this group. It's now 1 minute and 14 they've got with 10 to go. Yeah,
looks like it now with Moscon sacrificing himself as much as possible, but I don't think this is going to come down to a sprint. I think Trentin is going to have another go and one of the climbs before we come back into Harrogate. He can't risk it. He can't risk anything happening as well, because any of these riders could puncture. But we are looking at the medalists in what order, I don't know, but you can see that Pedersen is trying as hard as he can. He knows he's within grasp of a medal. Kung would take a medal, but I think the Italians are in the driving seat here with regards to trying to win it here with having two riders.
Yep, I agree, and just need to stay on their bikes and not lose a bit of focus, and that's so easy to do when you start thinking about glory and realizing that you are in a very strong position. Trentin picks it up and tries to keep the hurt on, see if he can shake anybody else out here. Trentin doesn't want to burn everything, and indeed here come the Germans. As we have mentioned, they're a strong fighting force, but just too late.
Too late. They should. I've seen it before. There's riders, there's teams in here with multiples, even if you have to sacrifice one. And that's what they're doing now. Niels Pollitt with John Degenkolb, but they don't have the legs. They're not going to close this 1 minute and 14 gap. So they're sitting back, seeing the Belgians do it with one rider, Lampaert, and it's just too late.
Yep, afraid so. They had their discussions, didn't they, about who they were going to burn down. It's going to be a battle for fifth place by the looks of things. That's if Moscon doesn't blow up. He's doing much of the pacing here. Trentin did a brief turn. Pot bank chicane. This is that crucial one. 18.1% descent. Here we go. Now they need to stay safe here. Look at the funneling water. It's through a whole sequence. Here's the left-hander, so they get through that okay, and they've gone to the helicopter shot. Right-hander now, still not finished. Moscon just making a nuisance of himself with Shah at the moment. They try and bed in, and indeed they take this left, a right. And indeed, finally, they extricate themselves from one of the most dangerous sequence of corners. They gave it a lot of respect and indeed maintained their gap. Even so, there we are. Well, it looks like it's a flyaway for these guys. Davide Cassani, nervous times for him. He's probably got he's the team chief of Italian cycling, no nails left. He will have bitten them to the core. So, do you mind? Stop beeping and get the hell out of here and wait for some space. Almost making a nuisance of himself with the riders here with 8.2 kilometres to go. There we are. Wow. Italian livery on this car. I don't think it's encouragement. I think they're looking for a way through here. There's just screaming instructions from the car itself.
Yeah.
To what
translate.
Well,
it's
just encouragement, for goodness
yeah, I think
sake.
they're experienced enough to understand what they're doing, but you can understand sitting in team car like this with 2 riders here in 4. The adrenaline is going. You're trying to get information up, and you know they're very close to getting a couple of medals here. But Moscon really pushing hard now, and you can only think he got dropped the last time up the kind of main climb in the circuit, and if he's given this amount of effort, he may get dropped again, and the 3 medalists might be the 3 in the left-hand side, but not what order. It does look as if Trentin would be best, and I think he could test them out on this next climb.
For me, that was stupid behaviour by the Italian team car there, quite frankly. I'm glad the official's now embedded in front of him, and, you know, keep it shut at a moment like this, for goodness sake. There was a distraction to the other riders, and I felt that was a bit of gamesmanship, and I didn't like it. 7.5 kilometres, so my affection for the Italian team has just ebbed a little bit because of that stupidity. Minute and 19 seconds then before we get home. Sorry, that's the gap, I should say. 7.4 kilometres, and John Degenkolb, I'm afraid, had a great chance today. Blew it for not helping out. The French would have worked with the Germans, would have worked with the Belgians, and they've been worked over by a very clever strategy by the Italians, who went at the right time and had the firepower to deliver it. Same thing can't be said for some others, I'm afraid. Ben Swift, brave ride today, but not to be for Great Britain. Oh, what a finale we've got. Meanwhile, Moscon just does what he does brilliantly, and I hope that whatever prize money comes their way, that a goodly percentage of it goes to him, because quite frankly, he has sacrificed himself on behalf of Trentin, who for much of this race, whenever we've caught sight of him, has looked very, very calm. Right now, he's going to get very, very excited. Yeah, well, he has to stay calm because... Okay, it's 1:22. There is enough. We've seen in the other races that very difficult to close any gaps, and I don't think it will be closed even by the Germans. But you have to consider there's another couple of nations in that group behind with multiples. Like the Norwegians at 2. But if you turn around to Christoph and say, "How are you feeling?" and he doesn't feel good, then you aren't going to commit. So there's been a few kind of tactical mistakes, but. Good effort here from Denmark, from Mads Pedersen, to initially go out on the attack. Kung has probably been the rider out in front for the longest period of time, but Trentin recognised the danger, and he looks good. And I can only think that he's going to test these riders out. He has to test them. He's the most experienced European champion in the past, and he does look super strong. I think he'll stay with them, and I think he'll beat them in the sprint, and I think he knows he can. Hey, we're all going to find out in the next 6K what scenario to play out. Mathieu van der Poel, we thought he might be a contender, but no. Time to pick it up, and it's Stefan Kung that digs in. Now then, is he going to shake off Trentin, who stays on his shoulder? Mads Pedersen, a little bit of a gap, couple of bike lengths right now, and Moscon is gone, I'm afraid, finally. What a great servant he has been for Trentin. Had to happen on the climb, I'm afraid. He might get back towards a medal, but I don't think he's going to get one. So it's going to be a battle between that trio, a brave trio, but look at the pain written large upon Stefan Kung's face. Wait till you see the face of Trentin. He looks like a sniper, quite frankly, at the moment. And there he is. Grimace or smile? Well, he must be smiling right now, because there goes Mads Pedersen. Little bit of a gap. What's 1, 2, 2.5 bike lengths right now? That tells a tale, because we've got a final climb as well. And if there's that sort of gap and that sort of deficit on this test, then the one to Parliament Street as well will be there to be seen likewise. Kung flicks his elbow out, and Trentin, he looks like he's gone dreamy-eyed. A thousand yard stare indeed for him as he looks through the crowd here and tries to find just a way through it, being guided by the camera bikes and security. Great crowds have turned out here. The rain's still falling, but it's not going to dampen the enthusiasm of this trio. I thought that dog was going to get in the way there. Thank goodness it was upon a leash. These guys off it by a margin of 1:14 to the peloton. 11 back to Moscon, who's still there just in case something happens to those out front. He might be thinking of a bronze medal, which he'd be worthy of. And indeed, Kung picks it up again and just starts to dig. Trentin stays on his wheel, stays calm. Oh, what a finale with 5.2 to go.
Yeah, they're all tired. You can see Pedersen kind of hanging on, but Trentin doing the right thing here, starting to grimace a little bit now as we get towards the top of this climb. He knows he's got Moscon here. Kung just giving it everything. This is his best chance of trying to win, trying to distance the other two on this drag, and it's not going to happen. But Trentin doesn't have to ride here because he'll want Moscon to try and come back.
Yeah, indeed. It could be another foil, another element of this. And here comes Moscon. If he gets a bronze medal, that's going to feel like a World Champions title, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's what Trentin is hoping, that Moscon can come back now.
Well, he could use him, quite frankly, because he'll give him a turn. Sits on the front and then backs up. He can afford to play cat and mouse just a little bit with these guys because there's a minute and 16 back to the peloton. I still think he believes he's the freshest of all of them when it comes to a sprint. So might as well make them do the work, sit in and say, no, I'm waiting for my mate. Thank you very much. What a gift that strategy is.
Yep, exactly. But it does look as if Pedersen is riding for a medal now. He doesn't care what colour it is, he's just riding. He was really suffering in that climb. He realises that Moscon's gone, that the medals are here, and he'll take that medal for Denmark. And Stefan Kung tried there. He wasn't strong enough to get rid of the other two, and but he can finish well. He's a strong finisher, and he's on some good form. But Trentin, you think, saw a couple of grimaces there. He's the most experienced rider, and he's just going to sit and use his experience and try and use his sprint to take the gold medal.
Yep, and I believe he will. Indeed, here we come into this little dip. Stay upright, guys. Lots of storm drains to be avoided, and they come to this rise. Last time by this section of the crowd have been brilliant, I must say. It's been a little cauldron of atmosphere here, which has just been magnificent to witness. And here we go, minor places up for grabs, and Peter Sagan just extricates himself from the gang, but I'm afraid it's going to be just a question of tallying up what might have been at the end of the day.
Yeah, when you don't have the team, you have to sit and wait. But you know, when you try to close a gap of over a minute, it's not going to be in the last 3.5 kilometres. Michael Valgren trying to go across to him as well.
Side across the line. But Brian, they can't decide who's going to take the bird, and it looks like it's going to be a sprint between the three of them.
Yeah, but you can see that Pedersen, he knows, and even Kung is looking back as well to see where Moscon is. They know that this is a huge opportunity, or this is their chance to take a medal. But it's times like this where you have to remain calm, because I think Kung looks strong enough to battle with Trentin for the victory. I'm not too sure about Pedersen, because he was showing signs of weakness just in that last climb there.
Peter Sagan it is that gets a roar from the crowd as he's chased by Michael Valgren. Yes, along the way. He was the chosen son for Denmark, and I think wants to show what he can do, despite the fact that Mads Pedersen is up the road. There's a little bit of that always within nations teams. Trentin, Pedersen, Kung are our leaders, with Moscon just chasing on. 2.8 kilometres to go. So they come towards the Flamme Rouge in 1800 metres time. A little bit less than that right now. And then that last little sequence with the climb, and then ultimately the run for glory. Last toot on the bottle there for Trentin. He's fully hydrated, fully focused as well, one suspects, waiting for this to be decided.
Yeah, it's going to be between the three. Pedersen comes to the front again. He showed some weakness, but then again, when you put these riders within sight of the finishing line, then they get that kind of extra strength. But the question is, with Trentin here, and they know how fast he is, are any of them going to test him before we actually get to the finish and drag up?
Well, let's wait and see. At the moment, it's not full on. They're not giving it full beans, and Trentin most certainly looks over his shoulder and says, come on then. Let's ride it in, and you guys can enjoy the other medals. He's going to help himself to gold, almost approximating to the colour of his helmet here. 3 riders with a chaser now, Moscon at 20 seconds in arrears. Second chase is being led by Peter Sagan, who's presumably looking for a top 5 finish here. He's got Michael Valgren for company. Another Dane up front is Mads Pedersen with Stefan Kung. And of course, Matteo Trentin. Well, let us wait and see, shall we, which one of the 3 it's going to be. I think the man who's had to do least work here, despite the fact that everyone's done a lot today, is of course Trentin in the middle. So last couple of corners, brakes are squealing away here And indeed, just adding to the nerves and the sense of occasion for them, one suspects. And indeed, they head over this little drag. They'll be coming down into a dip before they climb to the line, Brian, to draw this World Championships to a close.
Yeah, this is the last drag. I was just thinking there that Stephen Kung may have a last-ditch effort, but I think what he's doing now is, because it's been such a hard and difficult race, all of them are trying to save as much as they can for a last-ditch kind of sprint up the finishing straight.
Trentin goes one way, as if to let the others roll through, and then goes to the other as well. And indeed, they didn't want to do it. They just snaked across the road, didn't they? And kind of followed him. Amazing. There we are. Flicks the elbow out, says Stefan Kung, and said, come on, come through and do some. Mads Pedersen does so at the Flamme Rouge, but it's not enthusiastic. And here we are. Last sequence of turns, and indeed that rise up to the top. So they have this little ramp. They'll take the left-hander, climb up Parliament Street, and then the gentle right before the final finish line is revealed to them. Well, the inflatable three little pigs out there. Who's going to take the bacon today? Let's wait and see. They check at each other. Trentin just looks nervous, looks down, looks back up. Nervous times for him. The others here, will they be in his wake? I think so, but when's he going to go for it? And what is he going to be? What are they going to be able to do to deny the Italians a World Championship title here? It's Pedersen on the front at the moment. Kung's going to have to go long, is he? Well, he's in a good position to come around the outside of them, but Mads Pedersen checks over his shoulder, and in fact I think the sprint may well come very, very late indeed. They may well use all of the road in a few moments time, and Trentin doesn't want to go too early. He'd like to follow somebody, quite frankly, and then mug them at the last. The crowd roar as they see them all side by side as they come onto the this what has been the start-finish straight of the laps. They're checking each other. Kung's there. It looked like he was going to go for it, but Trentin picks it up, going back onto his wheel. Mads Pedersen at the moment. Pedersen comes back, and Trentin doesn't respond. Wow. He bides his time again. He tucks in, does he? Oh, and Mads Pedersen has gone and done it for Denmark. Trentin just ran out of legs at the very last. Silver medal for him. Kung crosses the line for the bronze medal, but Denmark have done it. Mads Pedersen, we thought he was mad when he went for the initial move. Most certainly not. He's a world champion. That was wonderful. Wow. What about that?
I think most people thought Trentin had got that one, but a magnificent right there by Mads Pedersen. He was really, really struggling. You can see Michael Valgren, he knows what's just happened. This 23-year-old, it was only a matter of a couple of weeks ago that if that he won Easbergs, we knew he was on some really good form, but well, I don't think he can quite believe it. The Danes have pulled this off just when we thought he was really, really struggling. And I said, riding for a medal, didn't know what it was going to be. Well, he's not only got a medal, he's got a jersey to go with it.
Fantastic. Christoph comes in, of course, in the wake of Greg van Avermaet, and so many other star turns. We said today could produce a surprise, and it did in the very last 100 metres.
Yep, it did. Oh, absolutely amazing.
Trentin knew how close that was, but look at the celebrations here. He's 23 years of age, and he's born, I think, a week before Christmas. Well, all his Christmases have come at once. How's about that?
Well, we knew he was special. Was it a couple of years ago when he was up there in the Tour of Flanders, and he's always a strong rider. Trek Segafredo, I've not had the greatest of seasons, but recently they've started to get their act together. Towns, you know, Pedersen as well, you know, Degenkolb was starting to come good, but this just caps their year off, and for Denmark to come here, get involved. They never really get involved with the chase earlier on today, but Mads Pedersen got himself in the right place, and I thought he was doing a little bit too much work in the end, but he delivered that sprint perfectly and won.
Others did too much work out on the course. Team France, I think, will probably rue what it did to them today. I had no suspicion that that was going to happen, and that's what makes the World Championship so magnificent. We said occasionally you get surprises. I think today we've been surprised. I think he has too. He's saying, I can't believe it. Well, his dream is everybody else's nightmare, and it's been a privilege to watch him deliver it.
It has. It's a world title, and I said it just at the end there. He looked to be riding for a medal. He looked to be, you know, just making sure that Moscon never came back. He was struggling in that last climb, but you put these riders in sight of the finishing line, and they get something special. And I think that's what's happened today. He really suffered, and he got these loads up the finish. He saw the finishing line and just gave it everything, and he's now a world champion.
He wants to see it.
I think he was phoning someone, maybe he's...
who knows?
His parents.
Maybe he's got the Eurosport player, you never know. Meanwhile, the line beckons, and when you see Alaphilippe here at 2 minutes and 26 in arrears, you realise how tough that day was. Matthews finishing 3 seconds shy of 2 minutes down as well. Peter Sagan came across the line and saluted to the crowd, but the real story had already been told up ahead of him.
Yeah, he was leading out at this moment at the front, just glancing behind Trentin. Kung, I thought the challenge would come from Kung, but it looked as if it was Trentin that went first. He went with about 200 metres to go, and the reaction from Pedersen. Kung, slightly bigger gear, but just look at the size of the gear that Pedersen in. Smaller gear, he accelerates past. Trentin just has nothing left. I think he was maybe overly confident about winning that, but wow. Just gear selection, everything about that. 23 years of age, becoming world champion. We know he's a strong enough rider, but I wouldn't have put him up there with one of the favourites at the start of the day, but this has been a special day, and we've now got a special champion.
It was all supposed to be Michael Valgren's day. Well, Michael Valgren crossed the line and indeed punched the air as well. All credit to Moscon to try and tee it up for Trentin, but it was a silver medal for Trentin, gold to Denmark, and the very brave man Pedersen. And Stefan Kung played his part in what was a fantastic piece of drama. Well, thanks to those of you who were with us for some of the more challenging moments of the day. Here's our champion.
Can you even believe it? What have you done? You're the world champion.
Yeah, unbelievable. We didn't expect this when we started this morning, but yeah, unbelievable day.
What was the plan actually this morning when you did start?
It was to get me out in the early final, and then let Valgren and Fuglsang come from behind. But yeah, in the end they didn't follow Van der Poel and Trentin when they came from behind to my group, and then yeah, from there on it was just survive, and then hope for the best in the sprint.
Yes, you did more than survive. Everybody thought that at first it would be Van der Poel, then everybody thought that Trentin was going to win. You surprised everyone in that sprint. Take us through those moments.
Yeah, I just hoped that when I saw the finish line, all the pain would be gone and I could do a good sprint. And yeah, it's 6.5 hours on the bike, so everyone it's on the limit, so everything could happen in that sprint.
Take us through those hours on the bike. How difficult was it on this course under the rain, non-stop?
Yeah, of course you have to be focused the whole day and stay in front. But yeah, it's one of the last races of the season, so it's all about staying focused for 6.5 hours, and then don't get any bad luck, and yeah, hope for the best.
What does it mean for you to have that rainbow jersey on your shoulders in a few moments?
I think it's every rider's dream to wear that jersey, and for me to do it now, it's unbelievable.
Thank you very much. Congrats.